which police say clearly shows this one-year-old baby getting hit again and again. Sometimes by just a hand, other times with a remote control.
We just met Michelle, whose son's life was actually threatened by her nanny, who presently is on probation, right? Yeah. Tell me, just what happens to the nanny? Can she go back and practice now? Do you know where she is?
According to the terms of her probation, she cannot. However, she very well could if somebody does not check her background to see that she's got a criminal record, or just as many criminals do every day, get another social security number, another driver's license number, and there are ways around the law that criminals have found.
Questions from the audience.
Yes, my question is for Michelle. I wanted to know, why didn't you do a more extensive interview when you interviewed the nanny, as opposed to just going to the house and seeing that the house is okay? You should have, you know, I'm not blaming you for what happened, but you should have checked to see whether or not she had other children that she babysat, you know, or watched, and, you know, find out the outcome before you just chose her, because you can't just pick up anybody, you know, off the street.
I did an extensive search. I talked with past employers. I did a criminal record check. I visited her house. She came to my house, and everything seemed to be okay.
If you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't hire anybody to watch my child. I'm not working now, and I don't plan to go back to work. No one is going to watch my child.
Yes.
I feel bad for your son, because from personal experience, I know for a fact the littlest thing, whether it's a hit, the way you yell at a kid, the way you talk to a kid, it can scar them for life. It can really mess them up. So I really feel bad for little Joshua.
Thank you.
How do you plan to deal with that, if there are effects from this?
However, I have to. It affects not only Joshua, but my whole entire family. Me, myself, I feel guilty every time I think about it, because I am his mother. Instead of going to work, I should have been there with him. It was my responsibility to protect him, and I feel as if I failed somehow.
Question here. Yes.
Hi, my name's Annie Murphy. I'm the editor of Parents Magazine, and what I'm hearing from you really upsets me, because I think that, you know, we, as working parents, we need a lot of support. And, you know, as terrible as this experience was, for it to make you feel that you can never leave your son, and for working mothers to feel that it's their fault, when in fact we all have a responsibility to focus on the fact that child care is undervalued in this country, they are underpaid, that they're not properly trained, and that in business employers, they have got to get with this and realize that we have all got to find a better way of taking care of our kids, and it is not your fault.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do. I have two.
And how old were your children when you left them?
My daughter was 3 months old and my son was 3 months old.
And where did you get child care from?
I went through the routine you went through, and I'll talk later about this because I learned a lot the way you did. I don't feel your son is scarred for life, but...
would you videotape the way that they did it?
I think that if I had suspicions and I felt it was the last resort, I would do it. I might tell the child care provider. I might say, look, we're, you know, going to set up this video camera because I want to see what goes on during the day.
You would pre-tell a sitter that they're going to be videotaped?
Let me ask you, if it was your child that almost was killed, don't you think your views would be a little different?
My views, I mean, I agree with you. I think this is terrible. I also know that for all of these terrible cases, there are hundreds of thousands of wonderful child care providers who enrich children's lives.
Yes, there are. And if they are so wonderful, why do they not want to be videotaped? If they are raising the children properly and doing everything properly,
I agree with you. I think they shouldn't have anything to hide.
We're not saying that mothers should not go to work. I mean, there are a lot of mothers out there that have to work.
Right, exactly.
My daughter has given up a lot to stay home with her son, okay? So if you do have to go to work, you're entrusting your child in either a daycare or someone to come in and take care of your child. So then put up video cameras to make sure that your child is being taken care of properly.
Could you ever leave your child with another nanny?
No. The only person I leave my son with is my mother, and that's very rare. And that is something I know that I have to deal with and get over with, but at this point, I won't do it.
My next two moms experienced their own nanny horror stories and took action by creating Care Check. They will provide amazing tips and some helpful hints later in the show. They are moms first, and as a mom, Lori could not help but feel how many times her nanny had screamed at her little Amanda before she started screaming obscenities and throwing dishes at her. And Gail thought she screened her nanny to care for her little twins thoroughly, but When an overseas express package arrived, she could not believe what was in it. What was in it?
I was amazed. It seemed as though there was drugs in the package. I had hired this young woman from Venezuela, and she'd only been with me a few weeks. And during the time she was with me, she seemed pleasant and kind and sweet. And all of a sudden, every day she was crying and depressed and upset. And I asked her, what's wrong? And she said, nothing, 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 I'm fine. One day, the doorman hands a package to me, but she's walking with me, and she grabs this package. It's an overseas package, and she says, that's for me. I was like, well, how do you know? I haven't even looked at it yet. She says, I know, it's mine. These are my drugs. And my face...
She just said that to you?
She must have been in such a way that she needed whatever was in there. I don't even know what was in there. But she was apparently so upset from not having whatever it was. And, of course, I very politely dismissed her on the spot. But I was amazed. And I thoroughly believe in background checks, but this apparently didn't come up.
What about how she treated your children?
You know, at the time that she was with me, I was at home as well. And she was very rarely ever with my children alone. Maybe for 20 minutes or a half hour at a time. So it wasn't a situation where I had given her or relinquished enough control that she was spending any real time with my children. So when she was there, she was following my lead and playing with them and cuddling them and, you know, being nice and sweet. But then I saw this other side in the last couple days she was with me, and I knew something wasn't right.
My next guests believe that nannies have rights too. They're the ones who are saying that they should not be videotaped, that it's illegal and also immoral. We'll talk about that right after this.